Let's talk rugby championships, people, and world rankings. There's potentially going to be a couple changes in relation to this, depending on how things go in the rugby championship. I want to break it down and I want to go through how the world rankings could potentially change, and we could also potentially see a new number one. So please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and let's get into it. Now, we have Australia versus the Springboks, and we have Argentina versus the All Blacks. Now, South Africa and New Zealand are only split by what? 0.72, whereas Australia and Argentina are split by 0.03, right? So there's a very, very minor margins here, right? And a lot can change depending on how things go. Now, with the likelihood of both South Africa and the All Blacks winning being very, very high, we probably won't see much of a change here in terms of the top two. Could happen. It really could happen. We could see Australia, who put in a very strong second and third test up against the Lions. You know, they invigorated. They're coming in with momentum. They might be able to sneak a win. Likelihood is very low, but when you have players like your Rob Valentini, Jorgensen, Will Skelton, who had a fantastic test, fantastic tour with against the Lions, and Nick White, who he was just annoying and frustrating everybody. Liner, who's still very young, still got a lot to prove. So there's a lot of talent there that can potentially disrupt the South Africans, and if they are able to squeeze through a little bit of a win, we could see New Zealand jump up, because there is a potential of 3 points and in play here, I believe. So we could even potentially see South Africa drop, New Zealand jump up quite drastically, depending on if Australia are able to beat them and how badly they are able to beat them. Right? In doing that, they would just solidify their place in sixth. We wouldn't see any change between fifth, because the points between fifth and sixth is 5.6 or 5.56 or something like that. But we're not going to see much change in terms of between 5 and 6, but we will see 6 and 7 shift a fair amount. Now, also, depending on if South Africa beat Australia, we could see a momentum shift with Scotland potentially jumping up because of the amount of points that might have been lost. And then same thing with Argentina. Argentina could drop or rise depending on how their game goes with the All Blacks. So if Australia are able to beat the Springboks, but Argentina managed to get a win over the All Blacks, we could see a shift in terms of Argentina jumping up to sixth, Australia dropping down to seventh, I dare say eighth, and then that would potentially have Scotland jump up to 7. So that there's a lot of rotation that could potentially happen here, and it's all going to be coming down to how well Australia and Argentina play. We know that they are by no means teams to overlook, and we know that they have some serious firepower. Argentina are playing something like 9 uncapped players. Well, they put 9 uncapped players in their squad, so they are looking at a lot of rotation. They're looking at, bleeding in a lot of talent. I mean, they have quite a fair amount of talent on their books, but is the All Blacks really the time to be testing it? I don't know. Could they sneak a win? Highly doubtful, but it's going to put up for a very, very good fight, because the Argentinians are very, very powerful, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out hard, come really, really, direct, try to get as many points on the board as possible, as quickly as possible. But like I say, that is by no means going to be an easy test. So there is a lot that could potentially change. I can't really see much changing outside of that. Potentially Scotland jumping up to seventh, depending on performances by Australia and Argentina. So this could potentially fall quite well for this could fall quite well for Scotland without even having to play a game. They could rise in the world rankings, but Australia and Argentina are really going to have to be putting up their socks and putting in a very, very good performance, because you're playing up against the two best teams in the world with the two best depths in the world. So, Matt, even if they're playing a second or third tier squad, they are going to be coming in with enough talent to put you on your backsides. Um, I wouldn't want to be Australia or Argentina, but Argentina, they managed to beat the Lions on their to begin the Lions tour, which was very, very good, especially considering they were missing a lot of players. So goes to show that Australia are not to be overlooked. And like I say, Australia, they really put in a good a good show. First half of the second test, third test, they really showed up. There's a lot of people saying that, oh, the Lions were tired. That's not an excuse. That is down to Andy Farrell to rotate his players accordingly, as I feel he should have done a little better if they wanted to get that third straight test. Hence, Van der Fleer did not get a single sniff. Yes, I am continuing on about it. Yes, I am annoyed that Van der Fleer did not get a single sniff out of out of that Lions tour, and he's quite possibly the best seven in world rugby. Obviously, outside of players like Peter Steff, but there's no doubt 2022's World Player of the Year should have at least had a couple minutes um, as a test lion for this year. So, yeah, let me know um, how you think this is going to go in the Rugby Championship. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of changing back and forth later on in the year when a lot more teams are playing. Right now, we just kind of have Australia, Argentina, South Africa, and the All Blacks. So there's only minimal changes when it comes down to this, but we could definitely see a big shift. And Scotland are probably going to be really hoping for the best, and hopefully we'll see them. Well, they hope they'll see them rise through the rankings. Um, but by the end of these first tests. So let me know what you guys think. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And one thing which I did come across that I thought I'd make note for, all of the experienced people will probably know this, but the Lions, so the Wallabies, they ended up playing the Lions. The Lions, they're not an official team. So although it was test rugby, they didn't actually gain any points in terms of world rankings. The same way when you play the Barbarians, you don't gain or lose points depending on depending on the result. So Australia are where they are. They haven't changed anything, even with their win up against the Lions, and the same thing with their losses against the Lions, because they are not an official team. So let me know what your thoughts are. Please like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.